Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshaveni saying Communications Minister Solly Malatsi cannot withdraw the SABC Bill without the approval of Cabinet. Ntshaveni was speaking during a post-Cabinet media briefing yesterday, which was clearly quite fiery. Malatsi recently notified the National Assembly Speaker of his decision to shelve the bill, drawing widespread reaction. The minister says a credible funding model is needed for the public broadcaster, adding that the bill in its current form does not make provision for this urgently enough. Let's unpack this with our guest, electronic communications law consultant and Honorary Adjunct Professor with Link Center at the University of Witwatersrand. That's Justine Limpitlaw, joining us now via our video link. Justine, great to see you. Thank you for your time and indeed your patience. It's great to have you on the SABC because of how important this issue is. Perhaps we can just begin by understanding what the law says about who can withdraw this bill. I mean, whose prerogative is it ultimately to shelve the bill if in fact they find that it's not fit for purpose?
I want to start by saying whose prerogative is it to introduce a bill to Parliament? And the bottom line is that a bill can be introduced by Parliament to Parliament by a minister once the bill has been approved by Cabinet. So Cabinet approval is necessary to introduce a bill, but to withdraw a bill does not require Cabinet approval, and the rules of the National Assembly are very clear about this. Rule 277 of the National Assembly rules specifically states a Cabinet member, if a Cabinet member, in other words the Minister, decides not to proceed with the introduction of a bill, the Minister must without delay inform the Speaker in writing of the decision. That decision is to withdraw the bill. So Minister in the Presidency, with all due respect, is entirely wrong in law about who has the prerogative and whether, notwithstanding the ruling party's commitment to collective responsibility, Cabinet has a veto over the withdrawal of the bill. Cabinet doesn't, and the Minister is well within his powers to withdraw the bill. Sure. As frankly, Kuselo Diko, who is the chair of the Portfolio Committee, she's already acknowledged this. She's already acknowledged he has the power to do what he's done. She doesn't agree with the decision, but she's made it absolutely clear that she thinks he has that prerogative.
Sure. All right. You're crystal clear. I may have just jumped the gun, Justine, just for the benefit of our viewer who wasn't able to see that media briefing yesterday. I just want to take us a few steps back in her own words to listen to what Khumbudzo Ntshaveni had to say. Take a listen.
The SABC bill is not a bill of, is not a private member's bill. It's not Minister Malatsi's bill. It's a bill of Cabinet and the Executive. So in terms of the law, he cannot withdraw it without coming to Cabinet to agree for his withdrawal. That bill was submitted to Cabinet after it was approved by Cabinet. It was submitted to Parliament after it was approved to Cabinet. The Cabinet Secretariat and the Leader of Government's business will deal with that matter in the next Cabinet meeting. Because there's no minister, even myself, I can't withdraw any bill which has been approved by Cabinet, unless I've tabled a bill. Remember, they are private members' bill. Unless, as Khumbudzo Ntshaveni, have tabled a bill. Whatever the limitations the minister may find in the bill, he must come and convince Cabinet to say there are these limitations in the bill, and for this reason, this is the amendments I want to make in the bill, and therefore I'm requesting Cabinet to concur with me to withdraw that bill. So it was not discussed in Cabinet, and it's not his bill.
All right,
it's what we call an
Justine, and you've already outlined for us that, of course, she got it wrong. That doesn't necessarily, of course, take away the contention around this piece of legislation. There's been so much reaction to that decision by the minister. And I wonder if you can help us distill what the sticking points are. It seems, by and large, the concern is around this idea of getting a funding model to run the public broadcaster and doing so quick enough.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's helpful to your viewers, Ayanda, to just take a step back and to recognize that for a very long time now, for over a quarter of a century, since the Broadcasting Act was passed, which governs the provisions and the operations of the SABC, there's been widespread recognition that the cross-subsidization model of the commercial services of the SABC funding the public services hasn't worked. In 2020, the Minister of Communications specifically said in the white paper that was produced by that department that the funding model and the divisionalization of the SABC into public and public commercial has been a failure from the beginning, and made policy proposals about turning the SABC completely into a fully public model with proper funding for the unfunded public mandate. Everyone agrees with that. And the bill, if you really have a look at it, is exactly, it doesn't introduce a single reform, not on funding, not on divisionalization. It is a rehash of the existing Broadcasting Act that everyone agrees has been a failure for 25 years, with one important exception. And that is that the bill takes us backwards on the independence of the SABC, particularly on news. And that actually is the sticking point. Costello Dico, for example, in her statement said, this sounds the death knell for the SABC because it would delay the implementation of crucial reforms. There are no crucial reforms on the funding model. The bill actually says that the minister will develop a funding model framework, not even a funding model, just a framework to develop a funding model within 3 years. Ayanda, you work at the SABC. You know how grim things are financially there. It's not clear to me that the SABC has 3 years for a minister to come up with developing a framework, let alone a model. We need a bill that addresses the funding crisis right now in accordance with good policy proposals that were set out in the white paper of 2020.
Right.
I think what this is about... Oh, sorry.
I beg your pardon. You can finish your thought.
Well, I think what this is about, frankly, it's about a governing party that has governed for 30 years with a comfortable majority, having lost that badly, shockingly, and for it, unsurprisingly, in May. It understands the power of the public broadcaster. It is very anxious about having a truly independent SABC. And what we are witnessing in this bill, and the reason why every public submission that was received, and there were a lot of them, nearly 20, I think it is, or about 20, in Parliament, criticised the bill for its unconstitutionality in terms of the independence of the SABC.
Right.
And that came from civil society, it came from business. I mean, even competitors to the SABC, DSTV, for example, ETV, and importantly, it came from the regulator. Parliament's own lawyers have told Parliament that the bill is unconstitutional, and what they're trying to do is somehow fix it up in Parliament. It can't.
Sure.
This
All right.
bill is unworkable. It should be withdrawn and resubmitted with proper reforms provided in it that can be implemented from the get-go.
Sure. And of course, I have a responsibility to extend an opportunity for a right of reply to some of what you said, especially about the governing party's response to this. But, you know, we're out of time, and what I was hoping to engage you about is just how long it also takes to get these bills through the process to begin with. I mean, it's been 5 years with this piece of legislation, and I shudder at the thought of how long it might take to start the process from scratch, notwithstanding what you've mentioned. But as I said, as I already would have it, time not on my side either. So hopefully we can pick up this discussion at another time. Justine Limpitlaw with Wits University, really do appreciate your insights this morning.